Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE SmackDown every Saturday night. My name's Jonathan Dell. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
John, it was a very loaded, I think the word we each used in the green room there was a very loaded SmackDown. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to make sense of. So without further ado, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from SmackDown for October 25th, 2024?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead. And as you mentioned, the lead is loaded here. So I'm going to go ahead and just say the two matches that actually happened in the main event. So we start off here. We have DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns, who are a new tag team. Motor City Machine Guns somewhat predictably go over DIY. After they win, they get the number one contender shot. The Bloodline comes out to confront the Motor City Machine Guns, and they say, hey, we're ready to go. There's a lot of back and forth between if they should go, if they shouldn't. They say, let's have the match. There's only about 10 minutes. There's a ton of interference between the two Bloodlines, and the Motor City Machine Guns, shockingly, win the tag team titles from the Bloodline. This main event had everything and was a big surprise from my perspective. Dom, what'd you think of this main event?
I think how the Motor City Machine Guns, it's a great story for them, but they were almost an afterthought in this.
Mm-hmm.
The goal here was for the original Bloodline to cost the new Bloodline the tag team titles, because earlier this week, the new Bloodline cost Jey Uso the Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
So now they've all cost each other belts.
Yes.
Right? It's someone else's in the Bloodline's fault that everybody lost their belts. They are now sans belts, and it can be just the tribal chief, head of the table, the clan grudge match heading into maybe Survivor Series. Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso wind up hugging as the show goes off the air in the ring, while Roman Reigns stands at the entranceway looking on rather pensively, as if he's not sure what to think, because he's welcomed Jimmy back, but not Jay as much. And so now to see Jimmy and Jay, apparently, they're getting the band back together. Now Roman's got to think about that as well. So much stuff. I don't know if you want to go to Bloodline stuff first or any of the matches first, especially with the Motor City Machine Guns, and what they were able to do in these back-to-back matches here. What's your preference? What do you like? What's your favorite flavor?
Let's go in order from start to finish.
Okay.
So we start with DIY versus the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yep.
I thought it was a solid match. Always good to have a match in the main event. Mm-hmm. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's what I really like. Chain wrestling to start. So they actually had some chain stuff in the beginning, where, when we were hoping like, oh, are they like just flippy guys? Because I don't know anything about them, but they were really doing some flippy stuff. But they started us off with some chain wrestling, which I very much so appreciated. You could see like they had the exchange, and then once the exchange was done, the crowd did the golf clap, which is always cool. Like, okay, yeah, we like this stuff. That's really like, you have like a smart mark crowd when they like do the clap after like the big exchange.
Yes, they do a little clap instead of go, this is acceptable. This is acceptable.
Oh, we did. Yeah, they weren't all fired up, but they're like, okay, cool. Not surprising from the Brooklyn crowd, as kudos to them, but it is a yuppie part of the world. But so anyways, Motor City Machine Guns got a chant, so they're chanting Motor City. Yep. Which is cool that they're over. And I don't know that many people know who they were, but enough people know from their TNA stuff and New Japan stuff, that they knew who they were. Couple more things here just from this match specifically. TNA and New Japan, they mentioned them exclusively in the announcing, which is nice because they're like, yeah, they were really big in TNA and New Japan. Or they would just be like, Japan.
Yeah.
Question. Like they would be like, they're like, no, this is where they wrestled, this is where they got their name, and this is where they got. And it just seems a lot less petty and like, yeah, this is where they're able to wrestle. I can't believe I have to explain, like, it's so petty when they don't mention where they came from because they don't even want to acknowledge the competition. And then finally, I like their finisher, the skull and bones, I believe it's called. I like the finisher, so that was a cool spot. How about you? What'd you think of this match?
The finisher, the double team move, one of them goes up top turnbuckle, and it's basically a splash, but his partner is holding the other guy up in the inverted face lock, so it's almost like he's going to Sting deliver the Scorpion Death Drop.
Yeah.
And then so the finish becomes kind of a combination, that inverted DDT with the splash. So athletic, excellent timing. A lot of moving parts there, but people don't seem to inadvertently break things, so that's good. Fast-paced early on. It looked like guys were waiting a little bit too much for other guys to do their moves, but eventually they got into more of the defensive wrestling. They did on the announce desk mention that Johnny Gargano and Alex Shelley have a good connection from going way back in their wrestling careers. That may have played into a little bit. They teased a little bit of problems between Gargano and Ciampa when Gargano accidentally super kicks Tommaso Ciampa, who's on the apron at that point. That's what allows for the double team finish there. I didn't have a lot of notes early in this match because there was just so much action, but it wasn't that I was bored. It was like I was just watching. It was pretty neat. These guys are fast paced. They do well with each other. I do like that DIY gave a good showing of themselves. They were a worthy competitor here. We were wondering if they were going to have DIY go on to face the Bloodline or actually let the new guys do it. They're letting the new guys do it, and it happened sooner than we all thought.
Yeah, certainly. A complete surprise, and maybe we can move on to the second match. So, Motor City Machine Guns win, then the Bloodline comes down to the ring, and we're really just expecting more of a talking segment. Any notes from the talking segment that you have?
Yes, Solo Sikoa has almost Dominic Mysterio level of heat.
Yes, I loved it. I loved his promo. He was
and he
over.
knows how to play to the crowd too, right?
He was really eating it up too. He was like, he would look to them. I forget what he was saying specifically, but
eventually it was just Brooklyn, shut up.
Yeah, he told him to shut up.
But they were loud for him. Like it's almost Dominic Mysterio level heat.
And there were some times where they were asleep tonight, and we'll talk about the show later. I don't want to bury the lead here, but they were asleep for some of the stuff tonight, but they were wide awake when he was out there, and they were really giving it to him, which is great for Solo.
I'm glad they wound up with a second match here because when the first of the two tag team matches started, like this is only the third match. This can't be it unless they're letting these guys go half an hour.
Yeah.
And then when that match ended, I was like, there's no way they're going to talk for 15 minutes.
Yes.
They better not talk for 15 minutes. Right?
No.
And so we got a bonus match out of it. They're not only talking about these guys having a history in other promotions, but they're letting it be part of their characters. Like these guys talked to Nick Aldis and said, look, you know us, referencing back when they were all together in TNA. And LA Knight did that earlier in this show as well when he and Nick Aldis had that confrontation. It's like guys who have a history with each other from other promotions are able to bring that to the WWE programming, which is refreshing. It's something new. and it's not done in a way to mock it.
Yeah.
It's done in a way that kind of makes sense and pays respect to their history in the business.
For
So
sure.
I like that as well. And then we get the tag team match, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and eventually there's the ref bump, which
The Bloodline ref bump.
you'll never believe this. There was a ref bump in a Bloodline match because a Bloodline member pulled the ref in front of a charging Chris Sabin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now this was after Jimmy Uso showed up from the crowd in a hoodie to attack Solo Sikoa from behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jacob Fatu and Solo eventually get the advantage. Roman Reigns' music hits. And then those four fight out of the arena. So now it's 2-on-2, or so we think. That's when, after the ref bump and Tonga Loa starts getting chairs for the advantage, that's when another character appears in the hoodie. It's Jey Uso. He takes out Tonga Loa, takes out Tama Tonga in the ring, and it's Tama Tonga in the ring who is pinned. And that leads to the next step in the Bloodline story. But, as much the Bloodline storyline is the A storyline with the A performers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this was pretty cool that they brought the Motor City Machine Guns in and very quickly had them be the guys to take the belts for this angle where the Bloodline are now costing each other titles all over the place.
Yeah, it's cool that they have a tag team that's over.
Mhm.
They give them the tag team belts, and they're not just pushing some tag team from NXT, ramming them down your throat.
Mhm.
They're not ready to go. These guys have been around forever. You could see in the promo they've shot promos before. You could see in the ring presence they've been around, and you're like, hey, we got this new veteran team. Let's give them a monster push. Give them the tag titles, and the crowd is into them too. So,
and I think it's better for the tag team division because whenever the Bloodline are involved in any belt, it becomes a Bloodline thing.
mm-hmm.
Now that it's just the Motor City Machine Guns with the belts, now you could just have a regular tag team division with the Tongas are going to be occupied with Bloodline 1.0 for the next month or so heading into Survivor Series. So everybody else in the tag team division can now step up and maybe put on some great matches without the Bloodline shadow hanging over everything.
Yeah. Really, really cool main event and surprise cool. I was ready to press fast forward when they won. I'm like, wait, there's some time. And then I'm like, well, oh, wait, there's another match. Oh, wait. Oh, my God, they won. It did kind of feel a little bit like, since they were challenging right then and there, that they would win. I don't know. It was like, I don't know. I didn't know who would win. I didn't even have time to process or to think it out. But it was a lot more about the Bloodline and the Bloodline both just screwing each other, both the Bloodlines now. I guess there's one called Bloodline, the other one's Bloodline 2.0. Is that what is that what the names are?
Yeah, doing software versions of Bloodline, yes. Solo Sikoa has Bloodline 2.0.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
it's not even 1.1. It's a new tribal chief, so they get the extra version 2.
Yeah, we're not even doing not 1.1 or 1.3. No. We're going right to version 2.
Yes, they're all the way. Maybe 1.3 was Sami Zayn joining the original Bloodline. I don't know. But this definitely warranted the first digit to the left of the decimal point ticking up one. Yes.
Yeah. Dom, I'm gonna make this a video, just the whole lead here, because I think there was a lot in it, and hopefully some people are interested in hearing about the Motor City Machine Guns. I think there's a lot more to this main event than we typically see on SmackDown. But anything else you wanted to add?
No, not at all. And I, much like other storylines and angles, I don't want the Bloodline to overshadow the rest of our show. So I think we're ready. We gave them what they needed there for the double main event. Let's hit the follow.
Yeah, so that's the lead, but there's still other parts of the show we want to talk about. So let's move on into the follow. So maybe we can start here with um game 7
Heh.
of Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade. So naturally, the 7-game series always goes 7 in pro wrestling. I don't think it's ever there's got to be a sweep one time, right? There's just
Maybe, but like Andrade won the first 2, so it clearly wasn't best of 3. Or even if it was, they were like, "Well, let's keep going, make it best of 5." And then they tried at 3. It was like, "Let's make it best of 7."
yeah. So Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade, and LA Knight is the special guest referee. This one had all kinds of shenanigans and gets thrown out in game 7. So I guess the winner by the ref, who is the special guest referee, LA Knight, declares himself the winner.
Yes, he was the
end.
winner. He won the match that he wasn't in.
Yeah. And he takes the belt, he stomps away. Carmelo Hayes and Andrade are bored. This is going to lead to the Saudi Arabia show having a triple threat match between the 3 of them for the U.S. title. So LA Knight kind of shoots himself in the foot a bit there. Yep. And Nick Aldis makes this a triple threat for Saudi Arabia, and that's kind of what the whole setup for this was. Anything you want to talk about with this match, Dom?
I did not know that they were going towards a triple threat with these guys. So, I mean, by the end, after LA Knight just screws both of them out of winning the match, it's like, okay, they're going to put all 3 of them together at some point. Very quickly, they're going to throw them into Crown Jewel, which is a week away. That card sounds like it's loaded at this point.
Yeah, it really
Not
is.
only the 2 matches between the world champions, both men's and women's title holders, but there's plenty of other stuff going on that we hear about during the rest of the show, including this triple threat for the United States title. Surprising to me that they're really loading up this Crown Jewel show. I'll see these guys in a triple threat match. I usually don't like triple threats. I'd rather see good one-on-one matches. But these guys have each wrestled each other in every permutation you can have.
Yeah.
And they were all at least pretty good matches. So I think that they'll have a pretty good triple threat as well. As far as this match goes, we weren't seeing a lot of new stuff, which, it's not their fault. They've already wrestled 6 times in the last 3 months.
There's only so many spots they can have.
I mean, there's only so many ways that Steve Farley and the Pine Baron William Leeds can, lay out a match.
That is the NJCW. Carmelo Hayes and Andrade in the 7-game series is the Steve Farley Pine Baron.
That's their indie wrestling South Jersey reference for the evening. So, hat tips to Steve Farley and the Pine Baron William Leeds. I warm spot in my heart for them. I do like that these guys were having a pretty good match until they accidentally start involving LA Knight. Like at the beginning, he's trying to just keep them fighting down the middle. He's not involved with them. Andrade sunset flips over LA Knight to dive onto Carmelo Hayes on the floor. Like initially, LA Knight stopped Andrade from doing the dive so he could go over and count for Mello on the floor. I'm like, oh, he stopped the dive. This is awesome. And then Andrade just dove over him. Like, paint brushed him on the way down on the dive. Eventually, Mello kicks out after Andrade hit a destroyer and then a meteor in the corner. And when he kicked out, he sent Andrade onto LA Knight, who, as a new referee, doesn't quite know exactly where to position himself. So he was a little too close to the action there. And as LA Knight is shaking off the bump, Mello rolls up Andrade, but there's no count. Now they're really getting some hostilities between the ref and the competitors. Let's see here. Mello winds up super kicking LA Knight out of the ring. He misses Andrade and just catches LA Knight flush. LA Knight eventually on the outside grabs Carmelo Hayes, throws him over the announce table, gets back in the ring where Andrade is now not happy with LA Knight. Because Andrade is the babyface. He wants to win fair and square. So now he goes after LA Knight. LA Knight winds up blunt force traumaing both guys. eventually, because he hits one guy. Mello comes in, he's ticked off at LA Knight, he gets it as well, and that's when the ending happens. This was the first match of the night, so it wasn't exactly a fortuitous beginning to the in-ring competition tonight. It was like, oh, really? We're just going to get a match thrown out in a schmaz.
Yeah, I know.
But it works because they were setting up something else, and the rest of the show wasn't like this. So
yeah,
okay.
so I liked. I did want to point out one thing. I loved when I forget which one. I think it might have been Andrade went for the dive, and LA Knight said no.
Yep.
So that was like the thing where I was like, "Hey, I love that rule. I hate dives."
I thought of you. I thought of you as I was watching it.
LA Knight throws up the arms. He says no diving. And Corey Graves on the call, he says, "What is this, WCW, the mid-90s? No over the top rope?" And I was like, yes, no dives. I love it. I wish this was a real rule. This would make the product better. So he stops.
Well, it kind of is a rule because the ref is supposed to count out the guy who's on the floor. And he's supposed to do it from the side of the ring where the guy is. And so that if the ref is positioned correctly, that kind of gets in the way of an opponent doing a dive.
Yeah.
But the WWE refs don't do that.
So
LA Knight did it. He went over to count, saw Andrade setting up, and said, no. I got to count.
Right.
And he starts counting. Another time, LA Knight was counting both guys as they were trying to recover, as they were both out on the mat. And every time he counts another number, and he yells it loud so that everybody can hear in the arena. The crowd goes, yeah.
Yes.
5, yeah. 6, yeah.
The crowd was into LA. Again, speaking of people being over, LA Knight continues to just be. I don't, and it's not cooling off, right? And it's not stale.
I don't think so. Like, this was goofy, but he was still over. And for a one match thing, a little goofiness is okay.
LA Knight does goofy really well, though. And that's one thing, like when he calls himself, like when he starts mentioning like the Seinfeld stuff and says he has the Kavorka and stuff like that, that's goofy, but he doesn't lean on it too much.
No.
Right? Even though, he is a bit more unique. I guess there is a little level of goofiness to him, but he's not like a comedy act. No,
he's not a cartoon character. He's just a guy who's just really loud and brash and over the top.
Yeah. So anyways, that was probably there weren't many matches. I think you mentioned that. So we have LA Knight, Andrade, Carmelo Hayes.
Just one more match.
Yeah. So
Naomi versus Candice LeRae. She and Indy Hartwell are apparently a thing on SmackDown now.
Yeah, it looks like basically they're building a little bit of tension as they continue between Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. So Nia Jax is impressed with Candice LeRae, so Candice LeRae goes out to wrestle Naomi. Naomi picks up the win here. Yep. Dom, what'd you think of this matchup?
This was not a bad little match, considering there was supposed to be shenanigans involved, and there were. This was a pretty good match. I haven't seen much of Candice LeRae. She's on the small side, not only short, but really narrow frame.
She's tiny. I noticed that myself too. I'm like, and she's wrestling Naomi. Naomi looked like a linebacker compared to her, like an NFL linebacker versus some little. They call her a princess too, like I guess a fairy. So that's not really helping. Like, she's very small. I would even say for pro wrestling, she's unusually tiny.
Yes, because she doesn't have the wide build. I mean, height is one thing, but she's also narrow. But she's athletic. She sells well. She knows her character. Eventually, she distracts the ref, so Indy Hartwell can ram Naomi into the ring post on the floor and then roll her back into the ring. But that's when Bayley's music hits. She runs down to take out Indy Hartwell, then yells at Candice LeRae, which distracts Candice LeRae. allowing Naomi to recover and hit. It was a sit out full Nelson, like tailbone driver, and then rolling right into a stack up for the pinfall. This match goes about 10 minutes, including the commercial break. A fun match, fun stuff at the end. I wonder if Naomi and Bayley will be the first tag team matchup for Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae on SmackDown. That would be interesting. Both teams are pretty good. Not a bad match. Decent finish. Naomi not taking a lot of losses. They're doing a good job with their mid card, having people win and lose, not just have somebody go on a terrible losing streak or somebody just dominating everybody on a winning streak. They're doing a good job of mapping out when certain people get the win and when certain people get the loss and how it comes about.
Totally. No, it's the way they're booking everything is really good. Especially, I know we talked about it, but the main event was like, man, this has got a lot of layers to it, and it worked out for everyone involved, which is good too for like Candice LeRae to get a little time, because I know she's like a veteran from NXT, and I think she made the most of her time tonight. I do have to say, crowd was pretty dead.
Okay.
I noticed that the crowd was just at times really not into it, and you can't win them all, but they were getting talked at a lot tonight, which I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it. I thought the SmackDown wasn't so great until the main event. I felt like it was a pretty below average show. So
okay. Let's talk about some of the stuff that happened backstage, putting together the Crown Jewel card. The show begins with Randy Orton in the ring saying he wants Kevin Owens in a match, but he calls out Paul Levesque saying that you're protecting Kevin Owens from me. At which point, Paul finally says, no, I'm protecting you from Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
And that does not sit well with Randy Orton, who finally makes the plea. He says, like, we've been wrestlers together before. You would want to handle this thing in the ring if it were you. I want to handle it in the ring. And finally, Paul Levesque, Triple H, makes the match and says, to the effect of, I hope you know what you're getting yourself into.
Mm-hmm.
You two will face each other at Crown Jewel. So that's our first big Crown Jewel news item of. This is basically the go home show, because next week's, if it's in Saudi Arabia, it'll have to be tape delayed for our crowd. If they do it before they all travel over there, they'll probably do it this weekend. And again, it'll be canned and taped. This is the last live show, live TV airing in the U.S. before the premium live event. So they're doing a lot of stuff on this one. This match is now set for the premium live event. LA Knight's triple threat defense is now set for the premium live event. There's another one we'll get to soon, but I don't want to gloss over this segment. What do you think of them trying to talk up Kevin Owens as if he's now got like a screw loose and he's just so dangerous and people have to be protected from Kevin Owens? Over the top, or like Randy Orton's enormous. Does Randy Orton need protection from anybody?
Yeah, I know it is weird. Like, oh, Randy, watch out, he's a killer. I feel like it would be the opposite way would be a lot more believable, right?
Yes.
And he's like, oh, Kevin's always wanted to be a prize fighter and this and that, and I was always like, I'm not really buying that Kevin Owens is so tough that he would beat up Randy Orton. Like, that's why he shouldn't do it. He's so dangerous, which is like, it would work for like Candice LeRae as the little guy versus a big Nia Jax. You'd be like, oh no, she's huge. You don't want to do it, and she can. So like, is Kevin Owens going to be beating him down, and then Randy Orton's going to be doing the big comeback as the little baby face? Like, yeah. I don't know. I was thinking the same exact thing. I'm like, this is such a weird guy to do this dynamic with.
Yeah, because they're evenly matched.
If anything, they're evenly matched, and you'd give the edge to Randy Orton because he's a monster.
Yeah, you just let them wrestle. Like, okay, they're evenly matched, but to play up Kevin Owens is like he's so dangerous.
Mm.
It's not like he even uses weapons.
If there were some sort of weapon involved during an attack or something goofy, or
He's not Triple H bringing a sledgehammer to the ring. He just like shows up with himself and wants to fight.
yeah,
Okay,
and he's even
that's pro wrestling. You show up and you fight.
and even on commentary, he's always been goofy and kind of funny. He's never been like, oh man, this guy's really weird and crazy. Like, I never got that vibe.
Apparently, he has that vibe now.
Mhm.
Something has snapped in Kevin Owens.
Say what you will, like, about the storyline. I'm sure Kevin Owens and Randy Orton will tear it up, right?
I think they'll have at least a pretty good match.
Yeah. Kevin Owens, he just seems to always come and bring it on the pay-per-views when he has to. It's always like an entertaining match. And then also the same thing with Randy Orton. So two solid guys that are probably out of the picture for like having big title runs, but are big parts of the show, will face each other.
What to watch for in their match? Will Randy Orton execute the superplex, which is his father's move, Cowboy Bob Orton? Will he execute the superplex on the unsuperplexable Kevin Owens?
Wow. That is something they need to do, right? Wow.
Just throwing it out there. We know the man with 3 H's watches don't bury the lead.
Corey Graves is Fixer. What up? What up?
Good morning. You are over in the UK. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think I remember that. Good morning across the pond to you, Fixer.
Yeah. Hope you're hanging and banging out there in the UK. And thanks for joining, as always, much appreciated. Yeah, so I think the superplex thing is a great idea because Corey Graves plays it up constantly. And I love that he does, actually. I like that aspect of Corey where he's like, oh yeah, he's always so good in that corner. Almost poking fun at Kevin Owens and the corner spot, like he's undefeated in the corner. He always is effective in the corner.
I love it. I think this is better than the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. It's Kevin Owens's superplex in the corner streak.
Yes.
I love it. Will Randy Orton break the streak?
Perfect.
Stay tuned. There you go. Hey, tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments, what do you think of Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens going into Crown Jewel? Has there been enough build for it? Do you want to see the match? Do you like their styles? And will Randy Orton superplex Kevin Owens? There you go. Well, they did it already. 2 weeks since I said they need to get Jay to rejoin the Bloodline. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. After the Bloodline 2.0 cost Jay his title, he's now back costing them titles. And yeah, it's all coming together for Survivor Series.
Yeah.
We're on our way, Fixer. You are thinking along with them, and you are up on the product, thinking along with us as well.
Yeah, you were all over Jay Uso being a part of the Bloodline here. And
still got to wonder who's the fourth man.
Who is the fourth man?
Solo Jacob Tamaloa versus Roman Jimmy J. Who's the fourth man?
The Rock?
Could be The Rock.
Oh my God! If it's The Rock, then they're not losing.
Unless The Rock turns on Bloodline 1.0 because he's disappointed in them.
Oh, yeah.
And now the WrestleMania main event is Rock, Roman, Cody triple threat.
Rock Roman probably has to happen, right?
If not a one-on-one, then in a triple threat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with the Bloodline. I don't think it's time yet for everybody to have hugs. Like Jimmy and Jay can hug, that's fine. But not everybody. Old versus new Bloodline, you think Cody joins Roman's team. Okay. I have gone on the record on this very show, Don't Bury the Lead, in previous episodes, saying I wonder if Sami Zayn gets back in there.
Oh, right. Sami.
Can you imagine the pop if Sami Zayn comes out for a save at some point? And then they all just kind of look at each other awkwardly, and they somehow welcome Sami Zayn in for War Games
Yeah. Then
because
that's actually
Sammy's over.
and Sammy was always the face of that group anyway. Now they're going to be a face group. He could be like, he was the ultimate. I say face meaning good guy.
Yes,
He was always the face in the group. Um, that was
as
like,
much as much as Roman Reigns talks about having a solar system around him, he didn't just want to get himself over. He wanted to get other people around him over. Um, it was Sami Zayn who almost had the solar system right. Like the bloodline was getting stale, and Sami Zayn gave it new life. So if Sammy comes back, I think it would be a very special crowd reaction if Sami Zayn, all these guys show up in hoodies anyway. If one extra guy showed up in a hoodie and it was Sami Zayn, like that reveal would be insane.
yeah. We have I guess the next talking segment. Do you want to talk about Gunther versus and Cody Rhodes talking about the Saudi title?
I was impressed by Gunther's work on the mic. He's come a long way in a year.
Yeah,
Um,
very far.
and really a long way in under 2 years that they've been letting him really cut major promos. He's come along. He carried most of this showdown.
Yeah,
This
totally.
was really good. I like his attitude about it. That the reason he doesn't do all the promo work that Cody does is because he doesn't want to. He says no. He's a wrestler. He doesn't have to do all that stuff for all these people.
Mm-hmm.
So they're also trying to play this that Gunther's the real heel going into this matchup.
Yeah.
Just in case people were appreciating Gunther a little too much and liking him. They want Gunther to go into this with heel gravitas, and Cody to be the clear baby face here. Cody Rhodes, after Gunther questions his courage, says, "I'm also having enough courage," and then eventually starts punching Gunther. So he makes this into a throwdown instead of a talking segment. Ludwig Kaiser runs out to make it a 2-on-1. We get an announcement later that it's going to be Randy Orton who comes down to save Cody Rhodes in this scrum here. It'll be Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes versus Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser in the Crown Jewel Eve edition of SmackDown, which will be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted to mention about this promo before we jump on to the next thing?
Man, Ludwig gets a lot of time overseas, doesn't he?
He
When he
does.
had the big match, he is the SmackDown before the main event overseas guy. I know that's
Yes,
a
right?
loaded statement, but he was that guy in Germany. Now he'll be that
Yes.
guy in Saudi Arabia where he's in the main event of the SmackDown heading in to, the main event.
Yeah, I mean, guy can work.
And he had
He's
a
not
match with
big enough maybe to be considered world title material. He's
Mhm,
got kind of that small frame, even though he's sort of tall. So
mhm.
maybe people wouldn't take him seriously in the world title picture. But great worker, great on the mic, knows his character.
Yeah.
He doesn't take a moment off at all. He knows what to do in the ring when he's wrestling. He knows what to do when it's not wrestling. He's just fantastic. Rock is going to be on Solo's Bloodline as the final boss head of the table. Maybe that's the deal that Solo strikes to bring Rock into his side. As he says, I'll give you the Ulafala if you join me. Maybe that's the deal he strikes.
If he gets desperate and there's all these people teaming up and he keeps losing and he's just like he
Yeah,
gives it to The Rock and then he could be the number 2 to The Rock. Wow, that would be really good. That'd be a
sure.
pretty good pairing, right?
Right.
He's already well on his way to a world title, and as you have put it, he's ahead of Roman. He's ahead of Rock where he was at his age. He's
Mhm.
just he's
His
cooking.
age and his time on the main roster as well.
Mhm,
Like it's still barely more than 2 years. It was
mhm.
August of 2022.
Yep. So, Dom, anything else from this show you wanted to talk about?
Yes, Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce are backstage together. They make a fatal four-way match for the women's tag team championships. I think if I didn't write down all of them, but it looks like it's Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. It's the new ones up from NXT. Chikara Jackson and Lash the
Lash Legend.
Yes, Lash Legend.
Yeah.
And then there was one other group there. Damage Control, Io Sky and Kairi Sane.
Yeah, I did see that segment where they had all the tag teams in the back like arguing. That's that's old school Vincey stuff.
Yep, and there's going to be a fatal four-way. One from each team will wrestle at the Crown Jewel Eve SmackDown. So a lot of stuff going on for that Crown Jewel Eve SmackDown. The tag champs are very happy about being in a fatal four-way. Like, again, like this is the kind of thing you do to punish title holders for either not living up to what they were supposed to do in title defenses. Like, LA Knight got thrown in a triple threat as punishment for what LA Knight did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill do to deserve being punished by throwing into a fatal four-way where it's easier for them to lose their title? Yeah. I don't know what they did to be punished, unless like they're just like all getting after Jade Cargill for still not wrestling more than 2 minutes. It's like we're throwing you into a fatal four-way until you learn how to do a headlock takeover.
Oh man. And the four-way tag matches are such a mess already. And you're gonna throw Jade in there. She's gonna have poor Bianca is gonna be. She's got her hands full. Bianca's gonna have to be doing everything. They'll have to tag Jade in. The right person's gonna have to be in. They're gonna have to do the spot they did, 5 hours before the show. When the mat was being set up and they practiced, and they're okay. We're good.
Bianca is the EST every stinking time.
Right. Every stinking time. It's kind of funny, and back to the indie days, there'd always be one person that had no idea what they were doing. So you'd be like, all right, it's gonna happen like this, then I'm gonna tag you in. Let's practice the move like 5 times so we get it right, and then you tag out. Okay. That's all you have to do. That's like the Jade Cargill thing. She gets the NJCW person that has no clue what's going on treatment. Yeah.
It's working so far.
Ooh, I like this fixer. This is Bianca Belair is going to turn heel on Jade,
and it will be well deserved.
Dude, actually, that is a really good idea from like a booking perspective and realistic feeling storyline. There could be some serious tension. She's like, I do everything, and then I tag you in. And there could be like, you don't let me in, stuff like that.
It might be this fatal four-way that something happens where Bianca takes all the punishment, they lose the match, and that they throw up their hands. Maybe that's the end of it. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if it's going to be like a pre-show match. This feels like the pre-show like opener, or that's not going to be on display there.
Well, so far, it's how many matches did they have set up? The 2 world title matches, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, triple threat for the U.S. title. It doesn't look like there's going to be an intercontinental title on the Crown Jewel. The 5th match would be this fatal four-way. It doesn't look like they're going to throw the men's titles into the picture anytime soon, unless it's the World Tag Team Championships from Raw that wind up on the. So they could do 6 or 7 matches in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
It's an afternoon show. It's an afternoon. It's going to throw my scheduling way off. I think it's a 1 p.m. start for us, but
yeah, it'll be 1 p.m. start, and then and folks, those that are watching right now, we'll be live after Crown Jewel. So if you don't have access to it, you don't have time to watch it, you just want to chat about it, join us Saturday afternoon Eastern Standard Time, probably around 5 o'clock, roughly 4 or 5 o'clock.
We'll be recapping everything that happened over in Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, so just FYI. And the fixer has one thing to add.
They'll lose the fatal four-way. Bianca blades Jade. Oh, Jade's gonna get colored. Not in Saudi Arabia. They would never let the women do that in Saudi Arabia.
Blames. He said blames.
Oh, blames. I'm sorry. Okay. I was like, oh my goodness, they're not going to let the women get color in Saudi Arabia. They already don't let them wear anything that shows any skin.
Oh man, what if they? Yeah, what if they had two women come out in bikinis, blade jobs all over the place?
Right.
They'd freak out. Like, what is this?
It's like, welcome to the last pay-per-view that WWE ever does in Saudi Arabia.
They would not leave. They would not be able to leave the country.
Right. They'd be trapped in customs.
Right.
So no. Yes. Apologies, Fixer, for not seeing your correction there. Yeah. Maybe this is where it happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lots of speculation. It'll be a fun 7 days because we're broadcasting our live stream here on the 26th. So we're exactly 1 week away from Saturday, November 2nd for Crown Jewel.
And then
I think we're trying to start the engine. Is it drive time soon?
Oh, I like that. Is it drive time?
It's drive time. It's time for the thumb drive, where John, you and I are going to distill this entire SmackDown into a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no ties. There are also no star ratings, no letter grades, no number grades. You're taking this course pass, fail.
Tom, we're not Dave Meltzer. We don't do star ratings. We don't do 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We don't do 1 star at the Monroe Business Arena. No, no, no. We don't.
Blasphemy.
Well, we might actually get a couple more stars from Dave Meltzer as a result of the fact that it's at least obscure, so he could give it like more stars. But yeah, we don't do star ratings. We just give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down. Was the show good? Was the show bad? So ready?
I am ready, my friend.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Ho! Tom,
the main event did it for me.
Yes.
It was not good until the main event, and the main event did it for me.
I had written down in my notes this show was basically a clunker and almost like could have fast forward and skipped it all. Lots of talking segments moving into storylines. And then the main event hits. We have the 2 good tag matches. We have return of Jey Uso. The crowd was pretty dead all night. And then suddenly they were completely alive. The main event knocked it out of the park. Not the only home run that New York people had to deal with that night.
No!
Oh yeah, I'm shooting on the Yankee fans. Sorry about the walk-off. So I'll tell you what, it was a good show as a result of the main event. If you're going back, you're going to rewatch it. Yeah, you need to watch the last 20 minutes, and that's all. The rest of the show was, you can catch up on the notes, like a couple things here and there. So that's the thumb drive. So we give it 2 thumbs up. And, Dom, it's starting to get a little cooler here in southern New Jersey, but
not where I am.
No. It's
hot and it's cheap where I'm sitting, John.
Yes. I'll tell you what. If you look behind me here, I haven't even painted around the light switch so I'm cheap, baby. And it's getting hot in here. So it's cheap heat. So this is our segment that we call Cheap Heat. In Cheap Heat, we talk about AEW, WWE, all trending topics around in the wrestling world. So with these specific topics that we talk about, we typically try to hit the YouTube trends. That's what it really boils down to. It's the views on YouTube. We're up to over 862 subscribers, and we're just shy of 500,000 views. So We're almost at the 500,000 view mark, which is crazy to think about because
Fantastic.
we were getting 1 view, 2 views, 3 views when we first started, like literally 1 view,
Mhm.
literally 4 views. So got the ball rolling and momentum picked up on the channel. So thank you for those that tune in every like Saturday or whenever we do the live streams, or if you check out our shorts, or if you check out some of the smaller cut out edited clips. So
And
uh
those are all on the YouTube channel. You can watch us streaming on other platforms if you are wherever you're finding us live. Thank you very much for tuning in. Subscribe over at YouTube to get access to the entire archive of not only our live streams, but as John mentioned, the shorts, the under 60 seconds, and the edited clips. And also because it really helps us to know that people are engaged in what we're doing. Leave a comment, click like if you like one of the videos, share your thoughts in the comments. We do read them, we enjoy them. We like having the engagement. It's
yeah,
not just about number go up, it's about people taking an interest in what we do. We're interested in people who are interested in what we do here. So it's been a great ride. You said we're up over 860 subscribers at this point, right?
yeah, who wants to be
Climbing.
863? Huh?
Hey, there you go.
It's free. It helps us out. Okay,
There you go.
enough pandering. Dom, what is the first story here for Cheap Heat?
They are the road to WrestleMania gets longer and longer each year. They have been promoting WrestleMania for at least a solid month now. Tickets are on sale, and they're apparently some of these prices are well north of $1,000. This comes to us from the Rep. The subhead here: want to see John Cena's last WrestleMania match? It will cost you well north of $1,000 for a single nosebleed ticket. This article is talking about how prices had been like around maybe a couple $100 for tickets even a couple of years ago. Now it's up over 1,000. Top end seats, $15,000 before fees. One company's offering an over $10,000 package that includes suite seats and some meet and greets as well. Just incredible. 2 years ago in LA, out in Inglewood, 2 upper deck seats, $250 after fees. It's more than 4 times that now. This is a hot ticket. They are making tons of money. Maybe it will be like they did up here in the teaser promo. It'll be The Rock and Cody Rhodes and maybe Roman Reigns thrown in there as well. You could see him behind here in the background there waiting for a tag. Maybe this is what's in store for WrestleMania 41, but crazy the ticket price. You've been to live events. You went to this past year's night 1 in Philadelphia. This is a huge jump even from what you paid to go to Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, Philly was 380, which was a lot, obviously, for one night. But to see him over $1,000 for the nosebleeds, nosebleeds were like roughly $250 after taxes and surcharges, but which is a lot. But I mean, 1,000, that's crazy. Maybe it's because of the location, because you're going to have more people that would want to go to Vegas for whatever reason,
Maybe
because it's got the other stuff there. So maybe if you want to go with a group of people, I kind of like wrestling, I'll go to WrestleMania. But $1,000 is crazy, to be honest with you.
that is a pricey ticket. This is getting into Taylor Swift range, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, you're looking at Taylor Swift prices, and if you've ever been, and just having gone to WrestleMania, it's really big stadium, and it's tough to see anything. So like, not trying to bury the WWE product too much, but for $1,000, it's not worth it. It's like straight up.
Well, we'll see if enough people disagree to fill, what is it, Reliant Stadium out there where the Las Vegas Raiders play.
Yeah.
And other things happen.
I mean, it could shift down if they're having trouble selling the tickets, which is always typically the problem, is they have trouble selling out the building when they're that big. But it seems like the demand is just through the roof at $1,000.
Well, they're starting early enough that people can save up for a good 6 months and get there.
Mm-hmm.
Business is good for the WWE. So good, in fact, that why don't we just have more lawsuits? Vince and Linda McMahon, this comes to us from Rolling Stone. Vince and Linda McMahon named a new ring boy sex abuse lawsuit against the WWE. This is resuscitating some charges from incidents that happened in the 1980s. I don't know what to make of any of this because it is so old and apparently there were some settlements involved. One thing that I did not like about this, and let's see if my screen catches up to me sharing here, is the current lawsuit against McMahon. They got comments from Janelle Grant's attorneys. And that seems unsavory to me. Like the idea that because I'm suing them and you're suing them, that we have to just talk about each other's cases. If I'm Janelle Grant's attorney, I don't know that I'm saying anything about this lawsuit. Because what if it turns out that this lawsuit has very little merit?
Yeah.
Now I've tied myself to it. Like I don't need to play the enemy if my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
Like if your case is strong, stick to your case. You don't need even more media attention.
That's a great point if you think about it, because it seems like she's got a very strong case. I mean, the text messages is kind of like a smoking gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that McMahon was told to leave the company was like, yeah, they know, like TKO knows that we got to get rid of this guy because this is actually happening. Whereas I'm not trying to downplay if this is real or not. You have to kind of investigate and figure it out. But to your point, this could really hurt her case if this is complete garbage. So excellent.
Now, in attorney speak, she did pretty well here. Grant's attorney, Ann Callis. I'm assuming no relation to Don Callis. The allegations in the Ring Boys lawsuit against WWE are deeply troubling. Vince McMahon made sexual abuse and human trafficking a hallmark of WWE's culture for decades. That one might be a little strong.
Mm-hmm.
That one may be a little sensational out there. Survivors like Janelle Grant and other former WWE employees deserve their day in court. Okay, that they reined it back in there. All former WWE employees who experienced sexual abuse and harassment should be allowed to tell the truth by having their non-disclosure agreements waived. There you go. Bring it back to your case. Miss Grant stands by all WWE survivors, and she believes that Mr. McMahon, WWE, and all involved parties must be held accountable. So pretty good legalese, lawyer speak there. But, this is not a risk-free proposition of just making yourself a pile-on party in someone else's lawsuit. Like you got your own thing to worry about.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's pretty crazy that this lawsuit is even existing. But I remember the Donahue show, which is a very, very weird YouTube artifact. If you wanted to look into that, Donahue had an episode with Vince McMahon, and it's got Bob Orton on it. It's got a couple other people I forget. Dave Meltzer's on it. Very young Dave Meltzer.
Wow.
Full mullet. And he's on it. And I remember Dave Meltzer talking about it. It's the first time on TV ever. So he was like, whoa, this is crazy. But all these guys had done TV. Vince had done TV so much that they were like, whatever, we'll go on and argue about this. Like, Vince like loves this stuff. So he was like all about arguing about it. And so there's all these accusations years ago, but they like settled them all or they got figured out. So the Rain Boy thing was a prevalent thing on that Donahue show, but you never really heard about it again. But now it's kind of getting dug up again.
Apparently, it's 5 new John Does are speaking out here. So maybe they don't have anything to do with non-disclosure agreements. So go to Rolling Stone if you want more of the details on that report. It's big business. It's rather cheap in the cheap heat sense, but it's not cheap as far as the dollar amounts that are going around.
Yeah, and to the fixer, to your point, this show, Donahue was kind of like Jerry Springer, basically.
It was okay. I'll show that I know what this was. There was a time when Donahue's show was syndicated and it would air at the same time as Oprah Winfrey's show, and so the argument above Housewives was: do you watch Phil and tape Oprah, or do you watch Oprah and tape Phil?
Yeah, because Oprah used to be a bit of a freak show when she first came out, but then she like tempered it down
Yes.
and became like a respected figure at one point.
Yes. As they let people like Jerry Springer have that end of the spectrum.
Right.
They got to contrast themselves. Hey, speaking of controversy, Natalya Neidhart reveals the person who helped Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart reconcile. This comes from the takedown on Sports Illustrated. Apparently, it was Tyson Kidd who helped heal the rift between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. They go through this. It was, let's see, TJ Wilson, which is her real life husband, that he apparently helped her family reconcile with Shawn Michaels, not so much with Vince, but like the wrestlers who were involved. Shawn being like, "Hey man, I was doing my job.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what we do. We're carnies. It's carnival stuff.
Yeah.
Like he told me to do it. It's no worse than any other finish we've ever done. Sorry that he didn't confide in you as much. But apparently TJ something to Bret like, I had a really great talk with Shawn, and he was awesome. He was so nice to me. He was so nice to Natty. He was such a cool guy. He was giving me advice and being really helpful. This is when Tyson Kidd was, I believe, maybe getting some advice early in his career, and Shawn was on the roster. Mm-hmm. Shawn had said that he felt so bad about everything that happened with you guys in the past. And eventually it was TJ was the one that opened up the conversation between Bret and Shawn. That's great to see. Natalya, great family. We talk about great wrestling families. Is it the Anoa'i Maivia family? Is it the Rhodes dynasty? I mean, how about the Harts?
The Harts, for sure, are up there.
The Harts
got to be top three,
royalty, right?
Yeah, for sure, top three, and especially in the '90s, they ruled. And Natty is one of our favorites. Come on, she's a don't bury the lead favorite.
Yep, she can wrestle. She helps other talent. She not only trains them outside of the ring, but she's the one they can send into the ring with them who will be safe, who can work with people who are just getting their feet wet on the main roster. She can do it all. That's why she holds the Guinness World Record for WWE, not only women's matches wrestled, but also women's matches lost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because she's the one that they send out here to make sure that everybody else has a good showing. She was
a champ at one point too.
She's held the belts, but her real value to the company is that she's incredibly dependable and can make other people better.
Yeah, and that's more valuable than a star. I feel like sometimes she's just like someone that can steady the ship.
Yep, she's had a long career and she deserves it. And this was great to read. Something good-hearted and uplifting.
Yeah, it's cool because I think specifically with Bret Hart, he has such disdain sometimes for certain. Like if you look up some of his shoot interviews, he has such disdain for everything that from pro wrestling in general, and it's just like, man, like you got the opportunity to be at such a high level, and he's just so bitter about everything. So
he's got a lot of resentment.
It's good to see him maybe dial it back a little bit, talk to Shawn Michaels. Hey, it's a performance, right? And he was just doing what he had to do. And it's like, it's all work, right? So
There's a lot of Bonsall Street Bomber and Bret Hart.
right.
Just the resentfulness.
The untethered hate is ridiculous.
Just like just resenting the people around him for whatever reason. It's there.
Yes, the character I played that was completely unreasonable is the person that Bret Hart kind of is as his real life character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your work is his shoot, unfortunately.
Right.
Speaking of some awesome Canadians, Scott D'Amore, he most recently late of Impact Wrestling TNA, he is reviving Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. He was on Fightful Select's show here, Fightful Wrestling with Sean Ross Sapp, talking about Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling's rebirth. Maple Leaf Wrestling was an old Ontario, Canada promotion or Canadian promotion. Scott D'Amore, Canadian, wants to revive it, one of the great indies in North America. But they can't use Maple Leaf Wrestling anymore because the initials are MLW. There's already a Major League Wrestling. So they added pro. It is MLPW, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. Scott D'Amore got to talk about all sorts of things with Fightful Select ahead of their great card that happened just 1 week ago. It was a 2-day premium live event, pay-per-view for Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. One of the great things he said was about letting wrestlers who go to other promotions, either as one-offs or as just leaving and going there, letting them take their wrestling names and gimmicks with them, not trying to fight them on it the way WWF and WWE did for decades. They wanted to own everybody's name. Scott D'Amore made the great point about not just their theme songs and their wrestler themes, talking about Jeff Jarrett and Christian Cage, for example, that it can only be better for some of the second-tier promotions, because if he goes out with his name from TNA Impact and he's wrestling somewhere else, now Scott D'Amore points out this is the social media age. People who like that guy are now going to go looking for him online. And if he's using the same name he did in prior promotions, all that archival footage starts getting watched again. This could generate interest in those other promotions. So Scott D'Amore's got a good business head for the social media age. We know he's got a good mind for wrestling. This was a fascinating interview. It lasts barely more than half an hour. I encourage anybody who wants to hear more about Scott D'Amore, especially if you were into some of the second-tier indies or second-tier major promotions like TNA, Impact, Ring of Honor, things like that. Go for it. It's Fightful Wrestling with Sean Ross Sapp on YouTube. This was from October 18th, so slightly more than 1 week away from tonight. Great card there for Maple Leaf Wrestling. How many of these people do you recognize, John? I recognize Raj Desi, the former Jinder Mahal.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize Konsuke Takeshita from AEW, who's one of their title holders. Takeshita, right? I don't really recognize much else, but that doesn't mean that they are not big players somewhere.
Is that Jordan Grace from Royal Rumble at the bottom, or is that somebody?
No, that's another wrestler with a title belt. I think it's the Ring of Honor women's title holder.
Oh, you know what? I recognize her from NXT and WWE. I forget her name, but she's the Ring of Honor.
The Ring of Honor champ. So there's a few big names here and other people who are well known on the indie scene. Their card was for night one, Takeshita versus Mike Bailey. Let's see here. Raj Desi was here in a tables match against Bully Ray.
Oh, Bully Ray's a big one
there. Right. QT Marshall I've heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Taylor Rising I've heard of. Josh Alexander, I want to say I've heard of him from TNA. Let's see here. IWGP had their tag championships defended on Major League Pro Wrestling here. Night 2, The AEW International Championship was defended. Josh Alexander versus Takeshita. The Ring of Honor Women's World Championship, Athena had the champion against Giselle Shaw. Trevor Lee, whom I've heard of from AEW, he was there. I've heard of Jake Something from NWA. Bully Ray wrestled again in a tag match, as did Raj Desi, the former Jinder Mahal. Lots of pretty big names on this card. What say you about Scott D'Amore getting yet another chance here and going back to his roots in Canada and being able to put together what looks like a fantastic indie wrestling card for Major League Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling?
Yeah, it's great. You want to see other companies succeed, right? As a result of the fact that the more there's companies that are thriving or doing well, you're going to get better wrestlers, more exposed to different environments, to different opportunities for you to watch. You could watch an indie show. You don't have to shell out $1,000 for WrestleMania. You could probably go to Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling for pretty cheap. So I wanted to take a step back.
Sure.
Sorry, I got a good comment from the Fixer, and I did not get it out there in time. This is about Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Shawn being a born-again Christian and getting clean of his addiction. I can see that where, sometimes the friction between your coworkers is that you just class switch them as people, as personalities. So Shawn may be taking care of his health.
Shawn, I mean, like, even just from the stories you hear, Shawn was a wreck. He wasn't just a little bit like, oh, he drinks a little bit too much. It was like, no, he was very pilled up all the time and stuff like that. So he was a real mess.
Makes it easier to deal with somebody who has their life back together. Mm-hmm. So yes, a good call bringing in some of the more out of the ring stuff there. Very good. Thank you, the Fixer. And another thing, to anybody watching either the archive or in the live stream with us, tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments anything you think about any of the stories we're covering here. If you agree with our takes, if you disagree with them. And when we get to the end of Cheap Heat, of course, tell us if there's anything we missed that you wanted us to cover from the world of pro wrestling, from WWE, AEW, and beyond for this week. We are, of course, open to feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump here. More indies. Within a week, I find out who the Costco guys are, and I find out that they had something to do with wrestling, and I'm... sometimes I question whether we live in the best timeline.
Oh, you told me, you're like, oh, you sent me this article. I'm like, who the hell are the Costco guys? And you're like, I had to watch some of this. And then I pulled up TikTok, and boy, oh boy, it is not good. I cannot believe they're in a position they're in. And to be honest with you, I'll put it like this, Dom. Sometimes when we're making content, I think, we're not doing so good, or this video didn't do so well, and maybe we're not doing the right thing. We don't know what we're doing. Then somebody like the Costco guys or whatever come along, and I'm like, wow, this is horrible. We're doing way better than this. So if you ever want to have your self-esteem boosted, just watch TikTok for a little bit and just see what people are doing on that app. I cannot believe they are in the position that they're in, but I have noticed this thing about viral, because you really got me thinking about this. I've noticed now when people go viral, it's like they try their best. Like they have companies in their ears that pick them up and gobble them up and try to get them doing as much as possible. Like, no, you have like a 3-month window to try to get your dumb video that went viral. That's the dumbest thing on the planet to like get you to get paid otherwise, and I can help you do that. And whoever is their agent, we're here. We could probably make better content than the Costco guys.
Absolutely. We have not reviewed bulk-sized junk food from Costco or anywhere else that apparently these guys do. They give product reviews of things they find in Costco.
And they're recycled jokes. It's like, I'm a Costco guy, I do this. I'm a Costco guy, I do that. That's like a recycled joke from and very other bad jokes that they have on TikTok that they're doing. So they're doing like a TikTok style joke for Costco. It's just
It is apparently working because Big Justice, which is what this large child is referred to as, he's at a Coastal Championship Wrestling event and gets to spear one of the wrestlers. John, if we go viral, will you spear someone from an indie promotion?
I would gladly do that, and I think they would have a lot more respect me doing it than one of the Costco guys. If I was wrestling today and I had to be the guy that took the spear, I would quit. I'd say, you know what? No, I'm not doing it. I quit.
This is the most watched clip that some of these guys may ever be in. It's with the Costco guys.
Yeah, you're the guy that got speared by the Costco guy. You're done. Your career's over.
And since we can't get enough of it, this is just another angle. Apparently, Big Justice, which is what the 12-year-old boy is called, was with some of these wrestlers, and yeah, that's the opposite angle. The camera is shaking because it's just so electric in there. I don't get it. Apparently, there's the Costco guys. It's AJ who, according to this report from WrestleZone, the dad has signed a one-match deal with AEW, has challenged QT Marshall to face him on the AEW Full Gear pre-show. Johnny, you getting Full Gear and watching the pre-show? I am now.
They would pay to see me spear someone. Thank you, Fixer. I would gladly take your money and spear someone. I was an indie pro wrestler. I never did the spear, but I think I could figure it out as it's a very easy move. But
that's the move to the person who doesn't know what they're doing. You can tell them, look, just like run into the guy like with your shoulder a little, like lean over a little bit, hit the shoulder. He will do all the work. Just hit him with your shoulder and fall down with him.
Yeah. I can't believe that. Is QT Marshall still in AEW?
If he's not, he may be coming back to job to a Costco guy.
Oh, yeah. He said he's leaving, or he's announced that he was leaving in 2023, unless he's. Oh, he's signed to All Elite Wrestling, where he serves as the vice president of show and creative coordination. Oh, okay. So he got a promotion by coming back.
He's coming out of his in-ring retirement to have a match with a guy who shoves chocolate chunk cookies down his throat to taste test them and rate them and make sure that his son and nephew get in on the action there, because kids are cute. And who doesn't like watching chubby children review junk food?
True.
Me, that's who. I'm really not interested. But hey, there was a wrestling angle to it, so it's cheap. It's heat. Someone who's not cheap or cheap heat. Samantha Irvin, former WWE ring announcer, maybe one of the best they've ever had, maybe the best they've ever had. Thank you letter to the WWE Universe posted on her X account, Samantha the Bomb, about leaving WWE. Rumor is she is not going to AEW, so says Ricochet. Ricochet, her husband, is there in AEW, so she is just moving away from wrestling. She was supposedly trying to get a singing contract. She has an excellent voice, obviously. Maybe she is continuing in that vein, trying to become a full-time singer, performer in that regard. WWE, of course, brought back Lillian Garcia, a much beloved ring announcer from the past. She came back to take Samantha Irvin's place on Raw. So the ring announcers are over in the WWE. Like the crowds like them. They do good work.
Yeah, Samantha Irvin, if she's not going to, I thought was going to AEW for more money or something like that. But it sounds like she might be just. It's time for her to move on.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if she just. I wonder how well she was doing there and how much she was making and was just like, I got my money. I can just I can move on and maybe do something I want to do. And maybe it's a lot for all that travel because I know she has a kid.
Mm-hmm. It could get tough. Maybe Ricochet is swerving everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can rest easy. Who knows? I mean, in 6 months, who knows? Maybe she winds up in AEW. Who knows? But much beloved by WWE Universe and well deserved it. Well, she did her job very well and brought a lot to the table. Speaking of people who are signing with AEW, Sting. This comes to us from WrestleZone also. Sting says he has signed a multi-year deal with AEW, says it's like a licensing deal, almost like a Legends deal. Sting gave a little interview here with Wrestle Purists in which he talked about this, what he's been doing since his wrestling in-ring career came to an end. He has signed a multi-year deal with AEW. So AEW video games, AEW toys, posters, whatever, memorabilia. Sting has a multi-year licensing deal with them so they can use Sting on their products. And he even used the term Legends deal in this very short interview clip here. So WWE not the only ones who see some value in some of the older stars that still have a lot of appeal. What say you? Good move for AEW? Lukewarm on it? What say you, John? You watch AEW more than I do.
Yeah, great move and appropriate move because WWE didn't give him a time of day when he was there. They really jobbed him out to Triple H. Like, ugh. Then he lost to Seth Rollins, who injured him, and he was like, I'm done here. So he moved on. He moved away, and he signed on with AEW, and he had good matches for being a very old man and putting him in the right position. And even that last match that he had, he was doing moves. He's doing his moves of doom. He wasn't taking he did take crazy bumps. It was just take crazy bumps.
The hip toss into the pane of glass was something.
Yeah. And he did all he could. He was wildly over. The crowd loved him. He never lost. He retired. He got Darby Allin over as well.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't ask more for his career and a way for it to end. So he should sign a Legends contract with them because, I mean, honestly, he probably owes it to them, right? Nobody ever made Sting the guy that doesn't lose, right? They never made him the guy in any company.
Yeah, he was at the top, near the top of cards for a long time, won a lot of belts, always a fan favorite, and especially in his prime, a really good worker.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys who if you saw him wrestle today with that style, you'd be like, oh, he has the power game. He has some of the high flying game. He can use the ropes, use the turnbuckles. Tremendous athlete, can wrestle defensively if he has to. So yeah, he was always a guy who was over with the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, a Legends deal, that's what the Legends deal is made for. Guys who are over with the crowds. They don't have to wrestle anymore. You send them out to pre-shows, to fan meet and greets, to do promotional work, to do press conferences, to do wrestle cons, wrestle conventions. You find them out to do little 60-second interviews like this with wrestling journalists. This is what it's for. This is what it's for. So if you like it, then I like it as well. Very good stuff. Let's talk Daniel Garcia. This comes to us from Uproxx. Daniel Garcia of AEW recently re-signed to AEW, and he wants to make a good go of it there, as anybody should early in their career. Got some ambition. Good for him. He also had some things to say about the internet wrestling community, the famed or infamous IWC. We're in a day where most former pro wrestlers have a platform, whether it's a podcast, a media network, or simply using their social presence to cause a stir. Garcia says he doesn't want to name names specifically, but hopes one day to be creatively fulfilled and successful enough to not feel the need to go on a podcast every weekend and bad talk people who are trying to take the business further. I do think that there is a lot of positive influences in the wrestling world when it comes to wrestling media. I think Busted Open is a net positive for wrestling, Garcia says. But then there's other podcasts with people who are clearly just looking for clicks. Hating on AEW is a very popular thing, and it gets people a lot of attention. And I feel like a lot of these things come from people who retired their jerseys. We never hung it in the rafters, and we don't even remember what their number was on their jerseys. A lot of those people are trying to get a new career off hating on AEW and hating on people who are trying to be successful. And it's sad to see. I hope I never have to go through that when I'm older. John, you sent this to me and said this was the best article on Daniel Garcia you saw, not because it covered his re-signing with AEW so much as it covered this little rant of his.
Yes.
So since this stuck out to you right away, what do you make of these comments? And did I highlight the correct ones?
No, this is the one. Really interesting to go after what you would call the old man podcasts, old wrestlers that make the podcast. This is probably not limited to Kevin Nash, who trashes AEW. Conan and Disco Inferno trash AEW like crazy. You've got Stevie Richards, kind of he gets his nose in there and says bad stuff about AEW. Although Stevie Richards is my favorite pro wrestling podcast. He's fantastic.
Okay, very good.
Jim Cornette, obviously, just his whole gimmick is why AEW is bad. He'll talk about a WWE show and then he'll just start talking about AEW and why it's bad. Like he's so his whole shtick now is that, and it's always it's got to be a tough thing for them to sit back and hear when you're a pro wrestler, and it's like they log into YouTube and they look up their name and it's just all these like, is AEW dying stuff, or it'll be dead tomorrow and stuff like that, and all these opinions from these guys. So I want to give them credit for clapping back a little bit here and saying, hey, you retired, but they didn't hang the rafters in your jersey in the rafter, and we don't even know what number you were. Like you didn't do much. And I do want to give him credit for that, but I also would be terrified to go after Cornette. Absolutely terrified. I just wouldn't want to. That would be the one guy. Maybe that's why I said I don't want to name names. That'd be the one guy who I would want to avoid. I would say all those guys except for Cornette. I'm so scared of the vitriol that you would have toward me if I say anything bad about you.
Okay, is that because the Cornette fan base is so large and tends to be rabid?
Yeah, the Cornette fan base is really the cult of Cornette. They've got some real weirdos out there, and then in addition to that, Cornette is so funny. So when he starts to rip you, it's just like, man, it would be like Bill Burr getting a hold of you, or something like that. I'm trying to think of an old comedian.
You almost enjoy the roast.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of Don Rickles. It's like Don Rickles getting a hold of you, and it's like, oh man, he's burying them. So, yeah. So from my perspective, I just wanted to point this out because I want to make a video that says Daniel Garcia shoots on Jim Cornette, Conan, blah 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 blah, and then have the thumbnail, and then we'll talk about it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So what did you think about this? Him saying this about to the older podcasters.
He's not talking about us, is he?
Well, here's the thing. We typically keep it pretty positive. So hopefully
we're
like
objective, and we appreciate that. I mean, if you're commenting on the major pro wrestling promotions, you're commenting on people who are at least pretty good at their jobs.
Yeah.
You've got to go into it hating on it to find stuff to be negative about as the rule rather than the exception.
Yeah. No, certainly. It's not like they're like, oh, the show was good except for this. Like, hey, listen, tonight. Hey, the show was sometimes they'll say, "Hey, the show was good except for Jade," and it's like one thing, like, yeah, maybe I'll throw some shade at Jade, but I said everything else is good.
Mhm.
But and maybe that's a little bit more what there was another podcast they mentioned, specific. Oh, Busted Open.
Busted Open, yes.
Yeah. So people seem to like Busted Open too. So
Busted Open, is that?
Bully Rays.
I was just gonna say, is that Bully Rays? Okay.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
seems to be a guy with a good mind for the wrestling business, and he seems to be a fair analyst now that he's hung up. Well, I shouldn't say hung up the boots because he was just on Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, wrestling twice in 2 nights.
Mhm.
But his in-ring day is as a full-time wrestler is behind him. He seems to be a fair commentator and analyst about it.
Yeah, and I just saw this comment from the Fixer. He said the indie wrestling scene is good for talent and for wrestlers getting noticed. And then he said,
Especially nowadays with the social media, because you're getting on screens. You're not just getting in the dirt sheets and
yeah,
being read. You can get on screen. Pro wrestling is a visual thing.
hmm
Like being able to get on a screen is so important, and that's available to people nowadays.
yeah. So he corrected one of the words here. I think it was Crowd 2022-23 when WWE were doing a UK Castle pay-per-view and Triple H made an appearance at a local indie wrestling company and gave a speech, got the crowd on their feet.
Oh wow.
Mm.
Okay, so and he's a guy who's wrestled and would probably know to do that.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're in an indie show and Triple H comes in and fires the crowd up, that's going to be crazy.
Right. Yes. Like that time when you and I were just mosey on down and doing our podcast, and the man with 3 H's showed up in the chat to pep talk us.
The man with 3 H's, and we can ask him directly what was going on. That was amazing.
Yes. One more for Cheap Heat. Swerve Strickland. This comes to us transcribed from WrestleZone. Swerve Strickland was on the No Contest Wrestling podcast and gave his team of 4 wrestlers to join him in a bar fight. This seems to be the new trend.
Yeah, this is.
We did CM Punk's last time. Here's Swerve Strickland's 4. He chose Eddie Kingston and Samoa Joe, then said Darby Allin, and then rounded it out with Jake Hager, the former Jack Swagger from WWE, WWF days. Jake Hager. What do you think of these 4?
Well, Jake Hager's the best one, obviously. Jake
Okay.
Hager fought in Bellator and MMA. He wrestled in college at Oklahoma, so a big school, D1
All-American.
school where he wrestled. So he's legit. Eddie Kingston and Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, for sure. I think he could go in a bar. Eddie Kingston, maybe the character Eddie Kingston. I don't know about the man if we're talking shoot fighting. But
the man Eddie Kingston, I have some insider knowledge, was a bouncer.
Oh, that's right. You do
in
have
New
the
York
insider,
City.
You do have the insider knowledge. Tell that story.
A friend of mine from high school, we reconnected over on the Mighty Book of Facebook years ago, and he posted an Eddie Kingston clip from Billy Corgan's NWA days, when Eddie Kingston was pretty big there, and I obviously saw it and commented on it because I was watching NWA back then, and I was like, "Yeah, Eddie Kingston, quite a character." And so he tells me, not far off from what he's like in real life. He bounced for me at one of my places of business here.
Wow.
So Eddie Kingston, New York City bouncer.
Okay, so I take it back. If he was a bouncer, I'll give him a check, because if he wasn't like that in real life, then he'd be a bad bouncer. So if he was a good bouncer, it means he can go.
It means he also knows his way around a bar.
He knows how to bar fight.
he knows how to do risk assessment.
Yeah.
In a bar. He knows where the trouble might come from.
Mhm.
He
I
knows those things. So Samoa Joe's been mentioned twice, CM Punk and Swerve Strickland. Samoa Joe seems to be maybe one of those legit tough guys in the back.
Samoa Joe has probably been in a bar fight, and it's before cell phones or something, or the cell phones just never caught it, and that's why the people are saying it. Because there's no other reason I can really think of where they're like, Joe can go. Like, he must have been in real fights.
CM Punk hinted that, there may have been a time 20 years ago when someone who looked like him and someone who looked like Samoa Joe may have been in this exact scenario.
I could see that.
You know,
Between alcohol, and I know CM Punk doesn't drink, but he's got a mouth on him. And I
yes.
know that Samoa Joe probably is throwing him back, and maybe he just got a little into it with someone. Who knows?
Imagine the only sober guy in the bar being someone as obnoxious as CM Punk.
Right? They're like, "Sir, you're flagged." He's like, "I'm not even drinking."
It's like that makes it even worse.
Right?
And then Darby Allin, because it's a bar fight, you got to have someone who would jump off the bar.
Yeah, I like that as a gimmick. You need someone that will jump around.
Swerve Strickland, you like what you've seen from him on AEW. This seems to be a good fun little gimmick here. The 4 guys you'd want in a bar fight.
No, this is a good 4, and I like it a lot. And it might be a short video depending on how the original video did. If the original video did well, then I'm probably gonna take this. But interesting. I love Swerve Strickland. I think he really delivered as a champ. He dropped the belt. He came back. The crowd's chanting for him. He doesn't necessarily need a belt. He has really good rivalries, and it looks like he's down.
That's good. That's a big step up for a guy, right?
Exactly. They don't need to have the belt, and I think that going down the road here, it looks like he will be feuding with Shelton Benjamin, who has won back-to-back matches in AEW's debut.
Oh,
And I'm like, hell yeah. And Shelton Benjamin looks excellent at 49 years old. Really
all
good.
right. Good for him.
And he's working heel, so he's just wrestling. So he's not doing a lot of the high-flying stuff. He's just wrestling out there,
Which he can do, amateur background.
He's taking people down and doing headlocks. I'm like, yeah, this is what the heel's supposed to do. Come on. The heels don't have to be doing flips. They're doing headlocks.
Yeah. All right. Very good. So Swerve is doing well in his babyface role. The crowd's behind him. He puts out good work.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. I like it. John, that's all I got. It's unseasonably warm. It is unfathomably inexpensive. What is it, John?
It's cheap. Heat. Woo! I had a ghost sound in because it's Halloween.
Yes, that's right. We're a few days from Halloween. It's cheap costumes. Woo! My costume will be me with a name tag on. I'll pretend I'm a manager.
Oh, that is a good one. This is about the Fixer and what the chant was when he went to the indie show and saw Triple H.
Oh, okay, very good.
An appropriate chant for seeing Triple H for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Dom, maybe you could take it away. I'm gonna grab something to drink and I'll be right back.
Okay, very good. Yes, it is Halloween coming up. I got to tell you, I've gotten a new appreciation for podcasting now that I started my own with another project I do, and I just recorded my second weekly episode earlier this afternoon, and one take all the way through because I don't do video editing or anything, so these live streams are a great deal of fun here. That we do on Don't Bury the Lead, but the edited stuff that John does, making the clips out of things, and sometimes getting in there, cleaning up some of our awkward pauses, splicing in other visuals. That's good stuff. I'm getting a better appreciation for that. When I record my own podcast, it is just me on a Zoom call with one attendee, me, and I'm sharing the screen to myself. And I've got my background that I made up, and it's incredibly low budget. It is as low tech as high tech can get, and it's a ton of fun though. I try to keep it around the half-hour mark, and so I was doing that earlier today. So my microphone was already set up. I was already wearing the collared shirt because I like to look presentable and like I know what I'm doing. Neat and modest and neat. Somewhat business casual, like I'm at least somewhat professional there. Having great fun with that. Don't bury the lead though. This is about a month that we've been doing Saturdays consistently rather than Friday nights in order to accommodate SmackDown now moving to USA and me especially needing to finagle watching USA the next day. What do you guys think of us doing these consistently on Saturday evenings? It does make it more seamless with premium live events, which WWE does on Saturdays. So it's not us bouncing from Friday to Saturday for special things. We're just all doing Saturdays. Tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments, what do you think of our new schedule here at Don't Bury the Lead, where we're consistently on Saturday evenings, or if there's an early pay-per-view premium live event, we're going right after that. I think it's worked so far, but I thought the Friday was working well as also. So tell us in the chat, tell us in the comment what you think of it. Do you like the format? It's been a little more than a year that we've been doing the 5-segment format that we're currently on. The lead, the follow, thumb drive, cheap heat, and then the Italian goodbye. Do you like the segmenting of the show? Do you like our format and the flow and how we do it? Do we spend too much time on some things and not enough time on the others? Give us your feedback. Give us your well thought out criticism. Like the Fixer has been doing this evening. Well thought out points. You don't have to write a book for us. It can be short sentences here and there, but make it thoughtful like the Fixer. Thank you very much for you doing there. And let us know what your take is on our takes. And of course, subscribe over at YouTube. Nearing, we if you rounded us, we would round up to 900 subscribers. So we're looking to get there. Hoping to make it a figure 4, which is 4 digits there at 1,000. 4 numerals there for number places there. The figure 4 for wrestling parlance. So we're inching our way there, incrementally getting there. I like it. It sucks that I missed some of your live stream, but I always watch them back. You have been sub since the early days. The Fixer, you are an OG.
You're an OG, the Fixer. You really are.
My goodness, you remember this back when we had just the black background, no formal segments.
Just 2 guys talking.
Not using microphones or headphones. None of the fancy stuff. Wow, you are an OG. How have we done since then? Do you notice the difference? And have we remained humble despite our tremendous growth? It's good because it's Sunday morning for me when you're doing the live streams. It is the wee hours of Sunday morning. Fixer, are you still up late from Saturday night, or do you get up at the before the crack of dawn on Sunday morning? What is it for you?
Yeah, are you a late night guy?
Is this Sunday morning as in still Saturday night for you, or is this Sunday morning as in I do the early shift on Sundays?
While we wait for the Fixer's answer, Dom, so next week I am going to AEW Collision in Philadelphia.
You are?
AEW Collision on Saturday night. So I think it's going to be pretty tight for me. Maybe
do you want to recap on Sunday then?
Either we could recap on Sunday, or we could watch. Yeah, recap on Sunday probably makes the most sense. Oh, you work at nights in the UK.
Ah, very
night shift.
Good.
Gotcha.
I did night shift in the newspaper business for years. I feel you, the Fixer.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
The one problem is since I haven't been on night shift, my body is still on that schedule. I'm a night person. I'm a night owl.
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, like this is almost early for you, right, Dom? Because we've been on sometimes. It'll be like after the Royal Rumble or something. Then one of those later ones.
Yeah.
and we'll be go 2 hours. I know you could keep going, you know.
Sure.
um, but
I
so
do get up early on Sundays now, this time of year, but
okay. So I think
it's a chore to get to sleep though, because I'm not wired to go to sleep that early.
yeah, no, I
I
know you.
just am not.
I'm a creature of habit too. I have to. So basically, I used to be a night owl, but I have a 1-year-old who wakes up at 6 a.m. So I ain't a night owl no more.
So you are whatever Big John Stud there is doing.
Yeah, he dictates my life, I would have to say. So with Saturday, maybe what we could do is one of two things. We do cheap heat on Friday night, then Saturday is the show, then we recap the show briefly, and then I go about my way. Or it might be easiest just to skip it to Sunday.
Friday night may be tough for me. It might wind up being like our old schedule after 10
Yeah.
when
And
I'd be available.
I don't see a big reason why we wouldn't get a big number either day.
Mhm.
Like I've noticed that if it's not immediately after, I don't think it's like WrestleMania when you really want to be live right after it. Although
Especially since it's a 2-day event. So if you skip a day, they're already doing the next day's card.
yeah, so you can't even see what you're going. Yeah, when you do day one, what you're doing, you're already out of luck.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. So let's shoot for Sunday then.
Very good.
And if you were watching before, forget everything I said. It's going to be on it'll be on Sunday. Maybe I'll set the invite up so people can see when the it'll have the schedule on
Oh,
YouTube.
very good.
You know, just
Very
to give
good.
them an
Very
idea.
kind. So maybe part of the cheap heat will be you telling us about AEW Collision.
Yes, I can talk. Oh my god, I can take one of those pictures where nobody's in the crowd. I see those all over the internet. Oh, we're in the Italian goodbye. I gotta click that in.
Well, I mean, you could say it's that. It's kind of cheap heatish as well.
Oh, that's very cheap-ish to get views for nobody in the stands. Like, yeah, but I think um, I think the tickets are really good. I'm going with Steve, which should be fun.
Excellent.
He's a big
He's a big
AEW guy.
AEW fan, right?
Yeah, he did watch the Hell in the Cell match between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre because he has
Mhm.
Peacock for free, so he's like, I'll just watch it anyway,
Yeah.
and he liked it. So
Okay.
and he's a pretty big CM Punk hater, but he said it was a good match.
Very good.
I'll give you the two people he's a big hater on. It's CM Punk and Jade Cargill. Guy doesn't like Jade Cargill.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Maybe one day Jade can prove him wrong.
We're rooting for Jade. I would love
Yes,
to
we
see
are.
her turn heel and do well and like have a good match with Bianca, which Bianca might be able to get that out of Jade, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that's what you're really looking for. Hey, Jade can't lead, but maybe she could get,
Maybe she can follow.
follow. She could follow along.
The lead, the follow.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bury Bianca. She's the lead.
Oh man, those women's tag team titles with them. It's basically just Bianca doing everything.
Yeah. It'll be a chaotic fatal four-way.
Mm-hmm.
And Io Sky and Kairi Sane are still a tag team. No word on whether Asuka's going to be able to make it back.
Is she injured?
She was injured. She was wrestling hurt for a long time.
Ah, yeah.
In
The
fact,
Jap.
the other people in the back were saying, what a great job she did going all the way through WrestleMania to drop the belts. Like she was in bad shape.
Yeah.
She
So
needed surgery.
She was wrestling hurt. Just
injured. Like she needed surgery.
And yeah, not hurt, injured. Yeah. So
Mhm.
she's wrestling injured, and yeah, that's got to be tough. You probably have to change your style up too while you're wrestling. But not that I really noticed. I have to say, if she's tagging, maybe it's a little less pressure on you. But maybe that's a Japanese thing. They're just so damn tough. Like a lot of those guys they're strong style, right? So
Yep.
they're really hitting each other sometimes. They're really stiffing each other. So
They'd be good in a bar fight.
oh, so Bianca is my bet for a heel turn, though she's a better heel than a face.
You think she's a better heel than a face? Now, John, you brought up that you thought the crowd was turning on her in 2023
It
and
felt like
she
it.
needed something.
Hmm. The crowd was turning on her um, when she was in Puerto Rico and she was wrestling Io Sky. They
Mhm.
were chanting EO, or well, they were doing whatever, oh
Yep.
EO or whatever it was. They were
Mhm.
chanting for EO, who was a heel, and booing Bianca, who was a face,
Yes.
and was and I noticed other situations where the crowd would be kind of booing Bianca because she's the gimmick. They're just a little over the gimmick and the hair, and it was like, ooh, turn her heel, do it, do it. So I think that that's got to be her next step, right? She's won the title. She had the title forever. She's babysitting Jade now. Um, what do we see next from Bianca? We've never seen her as a heel, so turn her heel.
Does she have the charisma to do it as a heel?
Seems like she might have it because she got a little attitude when she talks. You
She
know?
does. Like, does she have that Ludwig Kaiser quality to her?
Ooh, yeah.
Dominic Mysterio, Solo Sikoa. On the women's side, Liv Morgan's been good as a heel with her heel turn.
Liv has been a really good heel, but also she is flanked by the heel.
Right. It's good pairing there.
Hmm.
Nia Jax has been a good heel.
Nia's been a great heel. Love Nia.
So yeah, there's precedent for that. Somebody like you're almost in the territory of they never turned John Cena heel, and would that have benefited from it, and could he have pulled it off?
Hmm.
And I guess now we'll never know because now it's his retirement tour, and no one wants to boo him.
And look, this is another great point of the fixer. Bianca going heel, I think, will be Jade Cargill's big test. Yeah, because she's got to do something. She got to do
Mhm.
more than what she's doing right now. She cannot be on that main roster hiding, getting tug in, doing a move, and pinning, or doing a move and then tagging out. This isn't. If that's the case, you got to go down to NXT and learn how to wrestle. Honestly, the women's division's too strong. She's too high up. She's been wrestling in WWE for too long. We got to get something out of her. They brought her in. When they brought her in at Royal Rumble, she looked like a star. The crowd popped for her. Now she's coming out. The crowd is not popping for her. And that's the momentum is shifting the other way. So they got to do something with her, right?
They can't keep running in place.
Yeah. No, this isn't a good running in place situation.
Yeah, because she has room to grow, so she's got to do it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're getting up here close to 2 hours, Dom. Anything else you wanted to add as we're doing our big old Italian goodbye here?
No, not at all. I think we had a show that was saved by the main event, the SmackDown that we recapped. It's a good quasi go home show for the premium live event, which we've already covered. We'll just see next weekend when lots of interesting stuff happens. You're at AEW Collision. We've got a premium live event in the afternoon to get to. It's going to be a lot of fun for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, and this is from the fixer here. Jade has potential to be an all-time great, but she's being too nursed.
I think that's a good last word here. Thank you, Fixer.
Yeah, no, I'd say she's definitely being held back too much, and I'm hoping it's not because she's bad. I'm hoping it's because they're not booking her correctly. But we'll see. We'll see with Jade. Either way, we're pulling for her. We're not the people that Daniel Garcia was talking about. Okay,
No.
we're pulling for her.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for all your contributions to the Fixer. Had a lot of people on during Cheap Heat. If you're just watching and quiet, that's cool too. We have 2 people on YouTube so far and 1 on Twitch that has been watching. So, hey, silent watchers are watchers. We're about to drop off now. Go ahead and check out our YouTube channel and subscribe. It helps out our channel tremendously because we're a small creator. So just getting 1 subscriber, you don't have to watch our videos, just subscribe. It helps out anyone under 1,000 subscribers. So really appreciate everyone and have a great rest of your